AITA for cutting contact with my family because they always favored my sister? Hi Reddit. This is going to be long, but I need to get it off my chest. I, 29M, grew up in a family where favoritism wasn't just subtle, it was practically the air we breathed. My sister Anna, 31F, was the golden child from day one, and I was, well, whatever the opposite of that is. Growing up, Anna was the star. She was smart, beautiful, outgoing, athletic, basically every parent's dream. I wasn't a screw-up, but I was quieter, more introverted, and I had to work really hard just to get average grades. It felt like every time I did something, Anna was 2 steps ahead. When she got A's, I got B's. When she joined sports, she was MVP, while I sat on the bench. At family gatherings, everyone wanted to hear about Anna's achievements, the scholarships, the awards, the leadership positions. When it came to me? Oh, Mark likes video games. Mark is good with computers. That was it. It might sound like I was just jealous, but it wasn't just about her accomplishments. It was how my parents reacted. They lit up when she walked in a room. With me, it felt like they barely noticed. If I brought home a drawing I was proud of, it ended up in a drawer. If Anna did, it went on the fridge for months. This dynamic carried into adulthood. I've worked hard to build a career in IT. I'm not rich, but I've steadily moved up and I'm proud of what I've accomplished. But anytime I tried to share good news, my parents would either downplay it or pivot to something about Anna. Example, when I got my first apartment, I invited them over. My mom spent the entire time talking about Anna's new house. When I shared that I got a raise, my dad immediately asked how much Anna's husband makes. It was like a constant reminder that I'd never measure up. The breaking point happened last Thanksgiving. I had just been promoted to team lead at work, something I busted my ass for over years. I was genuinely excited to tell my family, thinking maybe this time they'll see me. So, I bring it up at dinner. I'm mid-sentence explaining my new role, and my mom literally cuts me off. Oh Anna, how are the wedding plans going? Did you pick the flowers yet? The entire table lights up, clapping and asking questions about her wedding. No one acknowledges what I said. Not even a congratulations. I sat there with my mouth open, invisible as usual. I tried to swallow it down, but the hurt kept building all night. After dessert, I snapped. I stood up and told everyone I was done being treated like I didn't matter. That I was tired of being the lesser child. I told them I loved Anna, but I couldn't keep pretending this dynamic wasn't destroying me. The room went silent. My mom gasped like I'd just cursed at the Pope. My dad told me to stop being dramatic. Anna looked shocked and just said, "Mark, not now, this isn't the time." That was it. I grabbed my coat, walked out, and haven't spoken to them since. Over the past few weeks, my phone has blown up with texts. My mom says I'm being immature. My dad says I ruined Thanksgiving. Anna sent me one short text, "I think you overreacted. We didn't mean to hurt you." I've ignored them all. A part of me feels free, like I finally stood up for myself. But another part of me feels empty. Like maybe I made things worse than they had to be. So Reddit, AITA for cutting off my family after years of being the forgotten child? Update 1, a few weeks later. Hi everyone. I didn't expect so many people to respond to my post. I honestly thought maybe a dozen strangers would call me bitter, but instead I got thousands of comments and messages. Some validated me, some gave me tough love, and a lot of people said what I was going through sounded painfully familiar. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. So thank you. It's been about 3 weeks since Thanksgiving, and I've had a lot of time to sit with what happened. At first, I felt lighter. Like I'd finally dropped this huge weight I'd been carrying around since childhood. No more sitting at the table pretending I was fine while my parents ignored me. No more swallowing resentment. For a few days, I almost felt free. But that feeling didn't last. The holidays rolled around, and for the first time in my life, I didn't spend them with my family. I stayed home, cooked myself a small dinner, watched a movie, and tried to convince myself I didn't care. But the truth is, I did. I scrolled through social media and saw pictures of Anna and my parents smiling at Christmas dinner, all dressed up, looking like the perfect happy family. And I wasn't there. I don't know if I was grieving the family I actually have, or the family I wish I had. Maybe both. A few days later, my mom called me again. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message saying she was hurt that I would abandon them over something so small. She said Anna was devastated and that I owed her an apology for making a scene. Hearing that flipped a switch in me. Because what I heard wasn't remorse, wasn't even an attempt to understand. It was just more of the same. My feelings didn't matter, Anna's did. My dad texted me once, too. He said, "Son, we raised you the best we could. Families aren't perfect. You're overreacting." That was it. No acknowledgement, no attempt to meet me halfway. As for Anna, she hasn't reached out beyond that one text saying I overreacted. And honestly, that stings more than anything. I love her, I always have. This was never about hating her. I never blamed her for being the favorite. I blamed our parents for creating that dynamic. But her silence makes me feel like she's okay with it, like she's never seen me, either. I've been going back and forth in my head. 1 minute, I think cutting contact was the healthiest thing I've ever done. The next, I wonder if I've just burned bridges I can't rebuild. A lot of commenters said, "Go no contact, you'll feel better." And maybe long term, that's true. But right now, sitting alone in my apartment while my family celebrates without me, I feel like the kid who wasn't invited to the party. Something else a few commenters said stuck with me, that sometimes the golden child doesn't even want the role. That they can feel just as trapped by it as the scapegoat. I'd never thought about that before. I always assumed Anna loved being the center of attention. But now I wonder, did she? Or was she just as stuck in this role as I was in mine? I don't have answers yet. I'm not ready to call my parents, not after the way they dismissed me. But part of me wants to reach out to Anna. If anyone could understand, it would be her. Or maybe she'd just tell me to get over it. I don't know. What I do know is that for the first time in years, I'm questioning the story I've been telling myself. That I'm invisible, that Anna won, that I lost. Maybe it's more complicated than that. Maybe we both lost something in this dynamic. I'm not saying I'm ready to forgive or forget. But I'm not ready to close the door completely, either. Thanks again for all your comments. Even the ones that hurt a little gave me something to think about. I'll update again if anything changes. Mark. Update 2 months later. Hey Reddit. I didn't think I'd be back with an update, but here we are. It's been almost 2 months since Thanksgiving, and something happened I honestly didn't expect. Anna reached out. Not just a short "you overreacted" text like before, but a real message. It was long, pages long, actually. I read it 3 times before I could even process it. And for the first time in, maybe ever, I felt like she actually saw me. She started by apologizing. She said she was sorry for dismissing me that night, sorry for letting me walk out without chasing after me, sorry for being silent when I needed her most. She admitted she didn't know what to say at the time because she was shocked. She said she knew our parents had favored her, but she didn't realize just how deeply it had hurt me. Then she told me something I never expected, that being the golden child wasn't as great as I imagined. She said that from the outside, it probably looked like she had everything. Praise, attention, approval. But inside, she always felt like she was performing. Like she couldn't fail. Every grade had to be perfect, every performance flawless, every choice something our parents could brag about. She said she envied me for being able to just be myself, even if it meant less attention. She admitted that sometimes she wanted to scream at them to notice me, to stop comparing us, to let me shine in my own way. But she was scared. Scared that if she stepped out of line, she'd lose their approval. She told me she hated how our parents put us in roles, her the shining star, me the afterthought, and how it poisoned our relationship. I don't know how to describe how it felt to read that. On one hand, it broke me, because it made me realize we'd both been hurting all these years. On the other hand, it gave me hope. Because if Anna could admit this, if she could actually acknowledge my pain, maybe there's a way forward. She ended her message by saying she misses me. That she doesn't want to lose her brother. That she wants us to be a team again, no matter what our parents say or do. I'll be honest, I cried. I sat there in my apartment with my phone in my hands, and I just cried. Because for so long, I thought Anna was on the other side of this wall with our parents, and I was alone on the outside. But maybe she was trapped inside with them, too. I didn't respond right away. I needed time to let it sink in. But after a couple of days, I wrote her back. I told her I appreciated her honesty, that I'd never thought about what it was like for her, and that I missed her too. I also told her I wasn't ready to just move on like nothing happened, but that I was open to talking. We ended up having a phone call. It was awkward at first, lots of long silences and nervous laughter. But then she started telling me stories I'd never heard before. Like how in high school, when she was captain of the cheer team, she used to cry in the bathroom because the pressure was crushing her. Or how in college, when she got her first B, she hid it from our parents because she thought they'd be disappointed. Hearing that, I realized something important. The roles we were put into, golden child and forgotten child, they weren't about us. They were about our parents. We didn't choose them. We were both just kids trying to survive the family we were born into. By the end of the call, we were both crying. She said, "I don't want to be mom and dad's golden child. I just want to be your sister." And I said, "I don't want to be the forgotten one. I just want to be your brother." It wasn't some magical fix. Years of hurt don't just vanish after one conversation. But it was the first time in my life I felt like Anna and I were on the same side. We agreed to meet in person soon. I don't know what will happen when we bring our parents into the mix. They're stubborn, and I doubt they'll change overnight. But for the first time, I feel like maybe, just maybe, Anna and I can heal, even if our parents never fully get it. So yeah. That's where things stand. I'm nervous, but hopeful. And honestly, that's more than I've felt in a long time. Mark. Update 3, the first meeting. Hey Reddit. So, I promised I'd update again if something major happened. Well, it did. Anna and I finally met in person. And let me tell you, it was one of the most nerve-wracking but also healing experiences I've ever had. We decided to meet at a small cafe halfway between our places. Neutral ground. The kind of place where neither of us had any history, no family dinners, no awkward memories. Just two adults trying to figure out how to be siblings again. When I walked in and saw her sitting at a corner table, my stomach dropped. She looked nervous too, fidgeting with her coffee cup like it was the only thing keeping her anchored. For a second, I thought about turning around and leaving. But then she looked up, saw me, and her face softened. The first few minutes were awkward. Lots of small talk about work, the weather, her wedding plans. It felt almost fake, like we were tiptoeing around the elephant in the room. But then Anna just sighed and said, "Okay, I can't do this. Mark, I need to say this face to face, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for not standing up for you all those years." It was like a dam broke. I told her how it felt to grow up invisible. How every time I accomplished something, it felt like it was measured against her achievements. How Thanksgiving was just the last straw after years of being ignored. I admitted that sometimes I resented her, not because of who she was, but because of what she represented to our parents. Anna listened. Really listened. She didn't get defensive, she didn't minimize it. She just nodded, tears in her eyes. Then she told me something that floored me. "Do you know how many nights I wished I could trade places with you? That I could mess up, or be average, or just be, without feeling like the world would collapse. Mom and Dad made me feel like I had to be perfect all the time. I didn't want the spotlight, Mark. I wanted freedom. I envied you for that." That hit me like a punch to the gut. I had spent my whole life thinking she was the lucky one, the chosen one. And she had spent hers thinking I was the lucky one, because I got to live without the suffocating pressure of perfection. It was surreal realizing we'd both been jealous of each other for opposite reasons. We talked for almost 3 hours. There were tears, laughter, long silences where we just sat in the weight of it all. At one point, she reached across the table, grabbed my hand, and said, "We can't change the past. But we can change what we are to each other now." I told her I wanted that too. That I was tired of seeing her as my rival when the real problem was our parents' favoritism. That I wanted to know her, not the golden child, not the perfect daughter, just Anna. When we finally stood up to leave, I felt lighter. Not healed, not fixed, but like a wound that had finally been cleaned out and could start to close. We hugged in the parking lot, and for the first time in years, it didn't feel forced. It felt like my sister and I had found each other again. Of course, the big question now is, what about our parents? We both know they're a huge part of this. Anna admitted she's scared to confront them. She's always been the one they leaned on, the one who kept the peace. But she also said she's tired of playing that role, and she wants to stand by me if I'm ready to talk to them. I told her I'm not sure yet. Part of me wants to march into their house and finally say everything I've held back. Another part of me is terrified that nothing will change, that they'll dismiss me again, and I'll just reopen old wounds. So for now, we're taking it slow. Anna and I agreed to meet up more often, just the two of us, and rebuild our bond first. We both figure that if we're united, maybe we'll have a better chance of getting through to our parents when the time comes. I don't know how this story ends. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm not alone in it anymore. And honestly, that feels like a win already. Mark. Final update, months later. Hey Reddit. It's been a while. Life has been busy, and honestly, I wanted to make sure I had something meaningful to share before posting again. Well, I do. A lot has happened since my last update, and I can finally say this story has a hopeful ending. After that first meeting with Anna, we started hanging out regularly. Coffee, walks in the park, even just phone calls late at night when one of us needed to vent. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a sister again, not the golden child, not the untouchable favorite, just Anna. We laughed about dumb memories from childhood, admitted to things we never told each other before, and slowly, we started to rebuild. But there was always an elephant in the room, our parents. We both knew that if we wanted to really move forward, we had to deal with them. Anna confessed she'd been putting it off for years because she was scared. Scared they'd turn on her if she stopped being the perfect daughter. Scared she'd lose the approval she'd been conditioned to chase. I admitted I was scared too, not of losing approval, I never had it, but of being dismissed all over again. Finally, one night, Anna called me and said, "I can't keep pretending with them. If we're going to fix this, we need to tell them the truth. Together." So we set a date. 2 weekends ago, we went to our parents' house for dinner. Walking up to that door felt like walking into battle. My stomach was in knots, and I could tell Anna's was too. But when she squeezed my hand before we rang the bell, I felt stronger. At first, everything was surface-level polite. Mom made roast chicken, Dad poured wine, and the conversation was about work and the weather. It was like we were all playing roles in a sitcom rerun. But halfway through dinner, Anna put down her fork, looked straight at our parents, and said, "We need to talk." The room went quiet. I could see Mom tense up, Dad frown. And then, for the next hour, Anna and I laid it all out. I told them how it felt to grow up invisible. How every accomplishment of mine was overshadowed, how I learned to stop trying because nothing I did was ever enough. How Thanksgiving wasn't just one bad night, it was the culmination of years of being dismissed. Anna backed me up. She told them she never wanted to be the golden child, that the pressure nearly broke her more times than they knew. She admitted she resented the way they compared us, because it stole her relationship with me. She said, "You thought you were helping me succeed, but you were just isolating me. And you were hurting Mark every step of the way." There were tears, mine, Anna's, even my mom's. At first, Dad tried to defend himself, saying, "We just wanted the best for you both." But Anna didn't let him off the hook. She said, "Wanting the best doesn't excuse ignoring your son. You made him feel like he didn't matter." For once, they didn't just shut me down. They actually listened. It wasn't perfect. There were excuses, some defensiveness, and a lot of awkward silences. But slowly, I saw something shift in their faces. Maybe guilt, maybe realization. Mom started crying and said, "I didn't know. I didn't realize how much it hurt you." Dad actually apologized, clumsily, but sincerely. We talked for hours. It was messy, uncomfortable, but real. By the end, Mom hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. She said, "You've always mattered to us, Mark. I'm sorry we didn't show it. I don't know if things will magically be different overnight. Decades of patterns don't vanish in one dinner." But that night felt like the first crack in the wall that separated us for so long. Since then, my parents have been making an effort. Mom called me last week just to ask about my work, no comparisons, no pivot to Anna. Dad invited me to help him with a project in the garage, like he used to when I was little. It's small, but it feels huge. And the best part? Anna and I are closer than ever. We've promised each other that no matter what happens with our parents, we'll never let them wedge us apart again. We're not golden child and forgotten child anymore. We're just brother and sister. Last night, we all had dinner together, me, Anna, her fiancé, and our parents. For the first time in years, I felt like I belonged at the table. Not as a background character, not as an afterthought, but as part of the family. I know it won't always be easy. Old habits die hard. But I'm choosing to be hopeful. So, to everyone who told me to stand up for myself, thank you. To everyone who reminded me that favoritism hurts everyone, even the favorite, you were right. And to the people who said reconciliation was possible if both sides were willing, I'm glad I listened. Because now, for the first time, it feels like maybe we all get to heal. Mark.
Comment, like and subscribe if you want more stories like this.